The Lovers isn't just a card of romance, it is a doorway into choice, reflection, and sacred connection. But this time, I won't be walking through it alone.
You'll be doing it with me. I'm not sure if that's my cue, but you we will be we'll be walking it together because that's what the lovers represent. It's duality, and that's what's happening right here. Yes, my name is Ramon, and I have a channel called Moon Scarab. It's a channel dedicated to tarot, divination, and esoteric topics. And today I am honored to be Elizabeth's guest to talk about the Lovers, which is Major Arcana number 6 in tarot.
Welcome, friends. Thank you for
Thank
being here. If you're new, my name is Elizabeth, and I'm going to welcome you back to the Fool's Journey. So, today we're going to step into the heart of the Lover's card, and it's an archetype that invites not just connection, but a conscious choice that echoes the path of the heart. And today I am honored to have Ramon join me from the Moon Scarab channel, and we are just gonna go ahead and get started. So maybe we could talk a little bit about how this collaboration came to be.
As you mentioned, you have the show and you're exploring all the different major arcanas. I met you through, I invited you as in one of my shows called In Orbit With. And, I expressed before in different shows and my channel itself that the Lovers is a card that I identify with. It's my significator card, and it represents a lot of things. For I think everybody who works in divination or who uses divination knows this card, and this is the sixth major arcana card in tarot, and it's one of the most symbolically rich cards because it has a lot of layers of meanings that goes across spiritual, emotional, psychological, and mystical. And at its core is a card that represents love and partnership. So it could be romantic attraction, soulmates, deep union, chemistry. It also represents choice and values, um, because it presents a decision of moral or spiritual implications. You might not see it at first, but as we talk a little bit more about the cards, I will show an example that maybe some people haven't realized looking at the card. It talks about also on alignment and harmony because it's like the integration of opposites, of harmony between the heart and the mind. And it also talks about commitment and unity, the willingness to merge, to commit, and to walk a shared spiritual path, you know. That's on the upright. That's like the general meaning. I know a lot of people don't read reversals,
Mm.
but in the reversal side, reversals is not necessarily the opposite. It could mean a lot of things: a delayed energy, something that doesn't allow the progress of that core energy of each one of the cards. But in reversal, the Lover's card could represent this harmony, like breakups, misalignment, conflict in values or intention. It could represent indecisions, avoiding a difficult choice, feeling torn or confused. It could also represent temptation, codependence. So it's a lot of things, either upright or reversal, but it's a very powerful card.
Yes, there's a lot to the card, and there's more than meets the eye. And one deck that I have been using as a study deck, so to speak, is the Tarot Disassembled. And I don't know if you've seen
Mm,
these
I
before, where
see.
it breaks it down and shows all of the different symbols in the card. And sometimes when I look at the card in this way, I'm noticing symbols that didn't stand out to me right away when
Hmm.
you look at other decks. Now, I feel like the RWS is rich with symbols, And they're shown here, but a lot of times when cards are reinterpreted, there's a lot of things that are missing. But I can tell you, just putting them up on the screen right now, I didn't notice right away the volcano
Mm-hmm.
that is
Yes.
here on the card. So there's a lot of different elements here and symbols.
Yeah, on the background. I've seen that deck. I don't have it. It's on my wish list. Someday I'll
Mm,
get it. But it's interesting that it deconstructs the card and you're able to see in all its different elements. It's going specifically to the Rider Waite. This is a card. I have it here, and we've all seen it. We have a
mm,
representation of a man and a woman. The whole scene evokes the Garden of Eden.
mm,
um, we have in the background what looks like a mountain. People interpret it as a volcano. It's read as the eruption of passion between them. It's also like an emotional eruption. When you get to that decision of that point of trying to make a choice. Try to keep that balance. Has an angel. Some people interpret as the angel Raphael,
mm.
which represents oversight, divine blessing, healing. It's also representative of the air element, which is what this card represents. The whole energy of the Lover's card, because it's associated with the zodiac sign of Gemini. It's a card that is associated with the element of air. Um, we have the tree with fruits on the background,
Mhm.
which is associated with the tree of knowledge, with the serpent, which some people read as temptation, but I also read it as knowledge because that's what the serpent brought into the story of
Yes.
Adam and Eve. You know,
Hmm.
if you don't read this as a volcano, you can read it also as a mountain, which could represent a spiritual or moral challenge between
An
choices.
obstacle. Yes.
An
Hmm.
obstacle. Uh, they're naked. There's nudity here, so it has that message of vulnerability, truth, openness. We have the sun on the background too, clarity, joy, divine light. So yes, there's a lot of levels of symbolism. And one of the things I like also is like that connection that I don't know. To me, I see it as a triangle because you have uh,
Yes.
the man looking at the woman with passion, and the woman looking at the angel. Like that's that connection
Hmm.
between earth and divinity. All interconnected. So it's a very powerful card. I When I started in tarot, I this is one of the cards that I disliked the most, to be honest.
No.
Yes, for
Why?
a lot of different reasons. I don't know. I felt it was too biblical at first when I read it. My apologies. When I read it as the story of Adam and Eve. Which
Mm-hmm.
obviously that's what it represents. So it evoked Bible to me. It evoked biblical story, which I'm not against. But I was raised in a Christian household. I was a big believer in a uh, Christian denomination, and I parted ways with the church for personal reasons. And in that discovery, trying to find another form of spirituality, uh, tarot came to me. So seeing this scene again sort of like brought me back to that moment. But when I started to learn about tarot and its meanings, its symbolisms, its association with different uh, zodiac signs, energies, I immediately felt connected with it because there's a card that's associated with the zodiac sign of Gemini, and I'm a Gemini.
Mm-hmm.
And I've lived every day that duality between choices. They say that us Geminis, we have a very conflictive personality because uh, we're always in between two polarities of energies of personalities, and I feel like that sometimes. So it's sort of like start feeling identified with it. but it wasn't just because it was biblical. I thought it was like too romantic at the same time. It was too mushy
Yes.
for me. But I don't know. But now I love it. Like I
Well,
personally identify with it.
it's funny. I was going to ask you what element or what symbol in this card stands out the most to you. And it's interesting because it's like, one of those is that romantic aspect. And when I get this
Hmm.
card in a reading, I try very hard not to automatically fall back on that as a meaning for
Hmm.
the card. So what would you say is the symbol that stands out to you the most?
Honestly, it's the serpent. The serpent.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
Yes, because you know, I think in this story, what puts the whole the energy and the weight in the story is the serpent. The serpent was the agent of action that, yes, people read it as that it was temptation, but that brought forth knowledge and brought forth a lot of other things. Acceptance, independence, because these two creatures, Adam and Eve, if you follow the story, they were dependent uh, on divinity for everything. For food, for well-being, etc. It wasn't until that point that their eyes were open that they had to stand on their own to be able to accomplish things, right? If you wanted to eat, you have to like work the fields. You had to, if you felt nude, you had to cover yourself. So it's like it brought the serpent was the agent that, or the catalyst of that change. And still, even after that, we never lost connection with the divine. If
Mm-hmm.
anything, it became much more genuine, in my opinion, because when we connect with the divine, it's because of free will. We're not subject to it as here. They really had no choice. They were living in the
Yes.
garden, being watched by divinity all the time. They had no other choice. But once you cross that threshold and you were on your own, if you wanted to connect it with God, in this case, with the divinity, it was because you want. So yeah, the serpent. It's mysterious. The serpent has a bad rep. I read Lenormand, and when I read this card, I don't associate the serpent with temptation or with betrayal, which is like the meaning a lot of people associate it with it. I read it as renewal, because the serpent uh, sheds its skin
Mm-hmm.
constantly. So it's that energy of birth, rebirth, renewal. It's an animal that zigzags to be able to move on, and most of our times in our lives we go through that. We have to zigzag situations, right? It's being able to find a way to find our path. So yeah, is that's the symbol that stands the most for me in this card.
I love that. Now, I would imagine that you have a vast collection of decks and reinterpretations, right? Reinterpretations of the Lover's card. I've
Hmm.
seen the Lover's card in so many different ways. And so
Yes.
I'm wondering, is there a symbol that when it's missing from the card makes you feel disappointed?
Mm, honestly, uh, um, I guess it's hard to tell because each card, each interpretation of the lover has something that is basic. There's always an element of duality. I guess maybe when there's not a human representation
Mm,
or something organic, something that's alive, it's kind of weird. Because I've seen cards that have maybe like two animals representing the lovers, and that's perfect. I have one here from Claire Goodchild, which is one of my favorite deck creators, and it's a
Mm.
heart. And from this heart emerges like flowers in two different directions. I don't know if you're able to see it. And still
Yes.
it's a living being. So it doesn't necessarily have to represent humans, but to me there's always have to have that element of duality, of two sides which are united somehow. Um,
Mhm.
we usually refer to, or I default to, the Rider Waite Smith because that's the deck that I started with. Um, but there are other interpretations, uh, historical interpretations of the card, which are different. Like for example, Marseille. I have very few Marseille decks,
Mhm.
um, because I prefer my decks to have images on all the cards. I use Marseille
Yes.
for numerology readings, but historically, the depiction of the lovers in Marseille is very different from the Rider Waite, and it's a man. This is the Tarot de Viviel from 1650. It's a
Mm.
French deck. It's a
Mhm.
historical reproduction. But on all the Marseilles, you see pretty much the same image. It's a man in a moral dilemma. He's choosing between two women, a younger one and an older one. And here clearly it's the duality, the element of choice here is different. It has more like a moral charge between what is it that I want and what is it that maybe I should have. I don't know. Maybe he's already engaged with this woman, and then a younger one comes in, and he's into that temptation. But
Mm.
there's an angel above, also, sort of like pointing at him, like choose wisely, be moral in your choices. So it's a
So
different
it's funny that
interpretation,
you
but
should share that one because for me, that is something that I really like to see in the cards, especially because I like to read it as a choice. But most of the
hmm
cards show two people.
yeah.
Most of the cards show
hmm
two people. I do have this one.
or two
Uh,
things. There's always like two
yes,
things.
this is Dark Mansion. And this one is the only one that I have that has the three. And I
Mm,
really enjoy this deck for that reason. But I love to see that personally, uh, and it does. It reminds me of the Marseille, and the angel is
yeah.
present as well.
hmm
Yeah.
Yeah, there's so many interpretations of the lovers card. Um, let's see. As I brought this one. This is from the Retro Poster Tarot. I love this deck because it's sort of like it's like old movie posters. And here we
Hmm.
have, a guy and a woman like in their 70s. It's a very
Yes.
typical representation to people with some type of relationship connection. I have this one too, which is the Darkness Piercer. I love this deck. This is a pip deck,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't see humans depicted here. It's sort of like
Okay.
inorganic material, like monoliths or rocks. It's very interesting. And the lovers is represented by two tombstones.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's a
That's very
beautiful.
interesting. I have
Yes.
one nature based card, and this is from Naturescapes. And you can
hmm
see it's not two tombstones, but there's the two rows of lavender
Mm.
in this card. And I always thought it was a beautiful way to represent it. But yeah, usually you see two. I only have one deck where there's one figure only in the card because they
hmm
have decided to choose themselves. And this is the Tarot of Strange Branches. And the theme here is more about self love, which I really love and appreciate.
Yeah, it's beautiful. So yeah, I mean, and the lovers also is associated with number six, and this is a number that energetically talks about returning to a state of harmony. We're coming out of
Mm,
five. Five is a number of instability, of change, could be of
yes.
conflict. Um, four, four is a number of stability, but it could also be stagnation. So you move from four into five, and five, it's that change, that instability, which
Mm-hmm.
it could be a catalyst to change, right? It could be crisis also. When there's a situation of crisis, that's a symptom that something needs to be changed. So you're into that energy, and then you go into six, and six is going back into that state of harmony, which is sort of like the spirit of the Lover's card as well. It's a spiritual card. It's a beautiful
Mm-hmm.
spiritual card.
And you see that in all the sixes as well.
Yes, you do. I actually brought some examples. It's funny
Oh, yes.
because I I say that all the major arcana cards have like a little brother and sister. There's sort of like a mini energy of the card itself. And it's funny because I was looking through the cards, and I feel that and all uh, all the twos embody the energy of this card. But it's
Mm,
interesting because I've it's a six. I see it also as a three. So like two times three goes back to six. It's a bit
yes.
weird. But the card I'm always like looking for I always see like connections in terms of numerology and the cards and all that. But the card that to me it's like the little brother or sister of that card is the two of cups.
Mm-hmm.
We see two people there. There's a an image of the chimera. The chimera
Mm-hmm.
is like this creature that has parts of other creatures, because we have like the head of a lion, we have wings of an eagle, and then there's two people sharing cups in connection. And to me, this is like the little sibling of the Lover's card.
Yes.
Yeah, but if
I
we
can
look
see
at
that.
yeah, but if we look at the twos, which embodies the energy of this card, the duality, we see it also like in the two of wands, which represents choice. This
Mm-hmm.
person looking forward. We see it in the two of swords also, going inwards into your mind to be able to make that when you're into a split decision, trying to make choices. We see it in the two of pentacles also, creating balance,
Yes.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So going
Yeah.
back to six, that this card represents, if we look at the six of pentacles, we have the image of this person who by choice is sharing his resources with two people who seem to be in need, right? This person is holding a scale, which again goes back to that symbol of balance, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sharing, balance. The six of swords, these people, they're just moving uh, into a different direction. Nobody's forcing it in that boat, right?
No,
They're making that decision just to move forward into new waters, into a different place.
I
So
see
it
that
goes,
as recalibration too. It's like,
yes.
yeah.
Yes, which going back to the six, like I was saying, it's going back to that state of harmony, of stability.
Mm-hmm.
Six of Cups, the image of a boy sharing some flowers with a girl. It's that sharing, that connection
Mm-hmm.
that this card represents. The Six of Wands is interesting because it's this person on top of a horse, and he's sort of like celebrated by people around. This card, I see it in terms of the lovers and that energy of duality as one of perspective, right? Because there's two different points of view here. It's the person who's on the horse looking at the crowd who are celebrating them, and the crowd looking at him celebrating the person on the horse. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
a message of perspectives and points of views, right?
Yes, I can see that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have
So
other examples from other decks that you wanted to share? I brought a
um
couple, not too many.
yes, I brought those because a lot of the other decks, like, they're redundant, maybe in the same depiction to
Mm-hmm.
people, to it's some type of emotional connection. What I did bring, and also, is a card that I consider to be the opposite of the lovers, and it's
Ooh,
interesting because if you put it side by side, to me, it's the devil card. And the devil
yes,
card, if you put it side by side with the lover cards, it's exactly the same representation,
yes. Mm-hmm.
right? We have two people. There's some type of connection then with the divine entity. On one side is an angel, here is the devil. And
Mm-hmm.
they're totally opposites in terms of energy. Here is freedom, it's choice, it's balance. Here is bondage, it's a toxic energy. Their
Yes.
connection is forced, right? They're attached to that podium where the devil is sitting.
Mm-hmm.
So it's they are totally opposites. Um, are they? Is the reverse of this one equal to this? Not really, you know,
Yes,
because
I would say the same thing.
is it they're two different energies, or like the reverse of the devil? Is it equal to the lovers? No, not really. They are just like mirrors in their own ways, but they're not necessarily like they're not equivalent. But
I
there
always
is
think of those as like a bad choice leads to you could start out in that lover's energy and make the wrong choice and end up in the in the devil energy.
you could, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, because that's what the devil represents. As that it's a very toxic energy. You go from air, which is the element of this card, to earth, which is this energy is Capricorn, so it's earth energy. Um, yeah, so you can go from sometimes trying to make a choice, or sometimes either conscious or unconscious could definitely take you here, to
Mm-hmm.
that level of toxicity when it's not the right one, when you're overwhelmed and you have no way, no place to go. You're shackled to that decision, to that energy, and it could be a toxic one.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. I was going to ask you, let me see here. Is there, because you really resonate with the card and its connection to Gemini, I understand that quite a bit. I'm Gemini ascending in my astrological chart. And I was going to ask if there is a particular image that really resonates with you for this card.
Um, yeah. To me, it's this one from Clara Goodchild. It's the Antique
Mhm.
Anatomy Tarot, and I show you this one earlier. It's the heart with these two plants or flowers emerging.
Mhm.
To me, it touches to the core of the spirit of the card. Because choices, when you, it's a very deep spiritual, and in many cases intuitive process. It emerges from the heart itself, for what's in your heart. That doesn't mean that it's the correct one or the right one or the most convenient, but uh to get to that point, you have to engage into that active personal process of going through it. Yeah. So, and this one, like, it doesn't depict people, but it depicts what's at the core of the matter. The heart, where
Mhm.
from where all the emotions emanate. Symbolically.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Earlier, you mentioned when we were talking about the symbolism about the mountain potentially signifying spirituality. And I was going to ask if you could go into that a little bit more. With
Hmm.
the card, we have the angel, and I like the I do see that triangle where He is looking at her. She is looking up at the angel. So there's that connection to the, Holy Trinity.
Hmm.
But I wondered if this has shown up for you in other ways as well when you're looking at the card or working with this card or this energy.
The mountain.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the mountain. It's the mountain. It's a very understated symbol um, in this card because I don't know. The mountain typically represents that, right? It's an obstacle. It's not a element that stops you from doing something. It makes it harder, but at the end you appreciate things more because you overcame the difficulty of climbing that mountain. And that represents in a lot of different things. It could be in relationships. We all know that being in a relationship is not the easiest thing. There's a lot of mountains that you have to climb and cross. Not only a relationship with other people, sometimes with ourselves. There's so many mountains obstacles that we have to face to be able to go forward. A lot of times we impose ourselves those obstacles, right? um Obstacles in general, connecting with divinity. um but at the same time, you can being once you get to the top of a mountain, you have a different perspective. You see things from a different point of view, and that's a very purifying process that helps you grow spiritually. So if you think about it, it's like the mountain brings you higher to divinity as well. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, to me it's a yeah, it's a very powerful image that when you look at the card at first, especially at the Rider Waite, nobody looks at the mountains. You're maybe connected with the story of what's going on right there. The two people, the serpent, maybe the angel who is like the centerpiece right there. But the
Mm-hmm.
mountain on the background is always something that is fixed, is always present in our lives. Um, some Most of the time we don't see that mountain coming in our path, but it's always there. You have to climb mountains and obstacles all the time. So it's kind of like a reminder to keep it in perspective. There's a reality in our lives.
Mm-hmm.
um, Balance and choice is something that we have to face constantly, but you have to connect, passion, which sometimes is uncontrollable, is something that just is instinctive in all of us, with knowledge, which is represented by the serpent.
I think it's
Balance, right?
interesting that in this card here, Tarot Disassembled, they chose the volcano, but there's times where we're making a choice and we can no longer keep that inside of ourselves and we explode. And
Mm-hmm.
it's almost like because your emotions took over, you lost control of the choice that you had. So now you're just dealing
Yes.
with the aftermath. So I love that. And I was going to share this card here. This is from the Ember and Aura. And I like that in this card, they do show the mountain. And not only that, but they show the zigzag path because it's not a direct route. And
Mm-hmm.
there's a path, but they've made it and they're at the top. And you can see, I really like in this card the way that they've shown that duality with the sun and the moon at the top. It's just really beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
But I like how each of the cards kind of emphasizes a separate part uh, of the actual original card.
What's your? Do you have any other favorite depiction of the lovers that you like or
I
dislike?
I have one that it took me a very long time to understand and build a connection with, and it's with
Mm-hmm.
or from the Sasarai Vito. And we
Mm.
see just the two figures and that dark and that light. And there's, if you look closely, the red,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, maybe the red string of fate kind of
Yes.
looping them together.
Mm-hmm.
And there's, you can see the presence of two physical forms. There's no gender. It's just two bodies coming together and merging into one. It's like that choice
Mm,
makes the change and it catapults you into this new. You never go back to being the person that you were before the choice. You become
yes.
a
Yes.
new
Yes.
person.
Yeah. That card to me is a make or break sometimes in getting a deck. I
Hmm.
saw this beautiful deck. I don't want to mention it, and I want to be respectful of the artist, but
Yes.
I hated the depiction of the lovers in that card.
Hmm.
Um, it didn't resonate with me. It was too carnal for me, too physical, which is nothing bad, but it's sort of like I just didn't connect with it. So
Oh,
when I look at the cards, a lot of times I look at the lovers, and it can that could be the decisive point between getting the deck or not.
it's interesting. As soon as you said that, I had a visual in my mind of a deck that matches your description that
Mm-hmm.
it stirs an emotion within you that I'm not sure means
Mm-hmm.
lovers to me.
Oh.
It's very strong. It's like,
I
whoa.
wonder which one. Well, I'm not gonna tempt you to tell me, but
No,
I can
no.
relate to the feeling.
Well, was there anything? I know that we had some ideas about what we wanted to talk about today. Are we missing anything? Should we move on to do a quick reading on the energy of the lovers?
Yeah, let's do it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Totally.
Okay. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So, what I thought that we could do is pull a couple of cards. So, let's say that we do card number one. What is the core lesson? What is the core lesson that the lover's archetype offers at this stage of our journey? What is the core lesson? Core lesson that the lover's archetype offers at this stage of our journey. Wow.
I'm gonna choose between the cards that are already pulled, like the twos and the sixes, and the different
Mhm.
lovers. See which one I get. Um, and the first card I for that question I pulled is the Two of Cups. And to me, this card is talking about that, every bond is a mirror, and every mirror is a reflection, a portal. And the lesson to me is that comes unity before you choose. Don't make choices from the lack of the fragmentation. Let the two voices, your logic but also your inner spiritual one, to talk. you know let them sit together before you act. And right now, through this card, it's not about choosing between paths, but it's about coming together to a whole of up to a place of wholeness. So that's what I'm the energy I'm getting from here.
Beautiful. Well, I drew the Three of Swords, and wow. And
Mm,
I kind of looking at this, well, what's the core lesson? Well, the core lesson is that sometimes these decisions hurt. Sometimes they're painful. Sometimes the outcome isn't what we thought it was going to be. Sometimes we make the choice and we have all the best intentions in our heart, but it ends up working out a completely different way. You just never know. And so, this is, I think, a very valuable lesson that each choice has its own individual unique outcome, and it doesn't always lead to you know rainbow and fairy
mm-hmm.
dust.
Yeah.
It can be quite painful
Yes.
lessons at times.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
All right, so let's see, card number two. What belief or narrative do I need to release to step into the lesson? All right, so we'll say this is for the collective. So, what belief or narrative do we need to release to step into the lesson?
Hmm. I got the the Two of Swords, which here in the Antique Anatomy Tarot is represented by the Two of Blades. And I love
Mm,
this depiction. And to me,
mhm,
what it's saying that the narrative that we need to release into this lesson, personally, in my case, and this might resonate with people around, I must release the myth that love or alignment means ease. You know, that if sometimes it's meant, it will be simple. The lovers, really, what it teaches us is that union is an initiation. Integration always demands sacrifice, not of the selves, but of that illusion that sometimes we create. Now, that I must release the belief that harmony means comfort. It really doesn't. You know, harmony means resonance, and that resonance sometimes cracks the shell to be able to free ourselves to to the path ahead.
yeah. Well, I have an interesting card. So I have the World card, and I'm using the Mermaid Tarot, by the way. So I have the World card. So, what belief or
Mm,
narrative do we need to release? Well, if you think about it, a lot of times when we're making these conscious decisions, these choices, either because our passions got the best of us and we erupted into a choice, or we've been dilly-dallying over what we're doing moving forward, and if we're committing to this 110%, we think that it's going to lead to this desired outcome, and that's not necessarily the case.
mm-hmm,
I feel like a lot of times there's a lesson, and the lesson that we feel that we need, or the things that we feel that we need, are not always what spirit feels is important for us at that time. There's a thing called divine timing, and not everything that we wish for is in our, best interest at the time.
hmm.
And so there's a lot of times where we have to kind of shift perspective about how things play out in the end.
Totally beautiful.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
How nice. I've really enjoyed getting into this archetype with you.
Thank you. I enjoyed it as well. It's one of my favorite cards, and it's so full of symbolism, like all the cards in tarot, right? But I feel
Mhm.
that this card is full of like complexity. You know, as we see like so many things: the physical, the divine, the abstract, knowledge, passion, everything mixed. You know, that duality element of duality, relationship with others, relationship with ourselves, relationship with divinity. So it's connections through all different sides, and eh, I feel this card embodies that's one of the reasons I love it, just because of its complexity.
Yes, yes, it's a great card and a great choice. And I think this was the perfect card for us to do together. So thank you so much for suggesting that. I
Yes.
really enjoyed this time together. So I would just mention for our friends that are watching, if you love tarot and are interested in learning more about these archetypes, I would love to have you be a part of the journey. So please feel free to subscribe to both of us, and make sure that you tap the bell icon so that you're notified when we go live or share other content. And
Yes.
so, if you have any thoughts, please make sure to leave them in the comments following the video. If there's a lesson that the Lovers card is offering you today, I would love to know more about that. So, that's what we have for you today. Thank you so much for joining us. Huge thanks to Ramon from Moon Scarab for
Thank you for
this
having me. Thank you
archetype.
for.
Yes, yes,
I
it was
really
so
enjoyed talking. Yeah, I really enjoyed talking about this card and being here. And again, everybody, you're if you haven't swum by my channel, stop by. I have different videos talking about the meaning of all 78 cards. I have tutorials of how to read Lenormand, geomantic sticks, pendulums. There's a lot of instructional videos. I shared also like um, poetry, music, all inspired in tarot and different topics related with tarot, divination, and esoteric topics in general. And some shows that I do live. So stop by and we'll see you there.
Yes, I feel like this content is great for people that are new and trying to wrap their brains around what tarot
Hmm.
means and how to use it in their life. But I also feel like it's great to, even if you are a seasoned reader, to refresh and brush up on your skills and kind of go back to the basics.
Yes, and listen to other people's point of view on the cards because you will. No one can say I know everything about tarot
Yeah.
because in reality we're always a perpetual student. Tarot is a reflection of humanity, of the human soul, and we're in constant change. These archetypes that we talk about today did not mean the same thing 100 years ago. When people are reading tarot, they will see the lovers in a different point of view, divinity from a different perspective. Uh, like in today, we don't we talk about energies. Like we're able to say that a man can perfectly embody the energy of any of the queens, right?
Mhm.
Likewise, any woman can embody the energy of a king because we don't talk about genders anymore. We talk about energies, and it's something that's different today than 100 years ago. So it's always a constant tool of uh, a reflection of where we are in our lives. And we all have different takes on the meanings of the cards. You don't have to be limited to keywords. I have an instructional video that tells you about numerology, about astrological associations. It gives you information about keywords, upright and reverse, but you don't have to be limited to that. That's a good point to start to give you an idea because when I started in tarot, everybody had like a different take, and I was confused because I wanted to know the exact meanings. But over time, I learned the basic keywords of each one of the cards, and at the end, I found the ones that resonated with me. And I've
Mhm.
learned through connections with different people on how they see cards, and we're always learning. Basically, that's what it
Yes,
is.
we learn from each other. And I feel like
Mhm.
that's definitely a lesson that I have taken throughout this time is in the beginning, if someone were to pull two or three cards and start reading, I would think to myself, well, wait a minute, but that's not the meaning of that card. Like, where are they
Mhm.
getting this from? So it's just this reminder that you have to leave room for intuition in order
Mhm.
and everyone sees different things. You can give the same, 10 different readers the same three cards, and they're going to walk away with a different interpretation. And that's
Yes,
the
and it
beauty.
varies. It varies
Mhm.
on the reading that you're doing. The circumstances can like evoke a different meanings on the card. It's very multi-layered in terms of the message that you can get.
Yes, for sure.
Mhm.
Well, I will give a little bit of a preview in the next episode. Our fool is going to be meeting the chariot. And this is where we're going to see where the journey changes from
Mm.
choice to motion. I
Yes.
will see you then. As always, thank you so much. Take care and bye bye.
Blessings to all.